did your journey begin? My journey began about 19 or so years ago. My older brother played the violin for 2 years, and then he put the violin down. And when he put it down, I picked it up and I began to play in public school. So BioView Elementary School in Gulfport, Mississippi is where I began. I knew since day one that it was something that I wanted to continue with. I loved it. Didn't have to push me to practice. I loved it since day one. And I knew that it was something that I'll be connected to for a very, very long time. Who has been your inspiration? If I were to name a few people, I would have to go with Damien Escobar, Eric Stanley, Daniel Davis. These are guys who've been playing violin pretty much all of their lives. They're African American, they're males. So as a child, as a kid rather, being able to look at them on social media and see them playing, jazz, gospel, R&B, pop music that wasn't necessarily classical. And it allowed me to see, wow, I can be who I am, play the violin, it'd be perfectly okay. And I don't have to play classical. So they kind of paved the way as modern violinists, contemporary violinists, for people like myself to follow in their footsteps and to be inspired by them and to be motivated by them. But largely, I'm inspired by the hopeless. My music has a way of bringing hope to people. Music itself has a way of bringing hope to people, in some way comforting them. And regardless of what people are going through and experiencing, music can just bring all of that and wash it away. And in those moments, people feel free and they feel peace. So those are definitely my inspirations, and those are what motivates me as a violinist. Where and when did you get your first break? So if I had to choose, I would say 2018 November. I played for a big conference in Point Clear, Alabama, called Healthy Churches 2020, and where I met who is now a great friend of mine and my mentor, who's in the Phoenix area. He was there at the conference, and he eventually said, hey, I want you to perform in Phoenix for this huge conference called Diversity Leadership Alliance, or DLA for short. So I went to Phoenix shortly after, and then the rest is history. I made so many great connections, and it led to so many more opportunities. So if I were to choose a point in time, I would definitely say Healthy Churches 2020, which was 2018 November. How has your journey been so far? So far, I would say my journey has been very rewarding. Of course, there have been ups and downs, but overall, I can look back and say that it's been an amazing journey. As a person, I've grown so much. I've grown outside of my comfort zone, and so many times led to growth, and really just learning to adapt and better do business and communicate. You really realize the importance of so many different things that you didn't otherwise. As I go into different arenas and different environments, and I'm experiencing different cultures and different ways of life. As a musician, it's been great as well to see myself grow musically, to play different styles, and to now be comfortable in different styles or techniques that I wasn't before. So overall, it's been great. Business is going well. To be able to look back year after year, month after month even, and see that consistent gradual growth has been amazing. So overall, my journey has been sensational. Which has been your most memorable event to this point? I would definitely say performing for the Houston Rockets. I've done a couple of their corporate events over the past year. I was able to meet the NBA players. I was able to meet Houston Rockets legends. I was able to meet the CEO and all the faculty and staff. And for the tables to turn and them to be amazed by seeing me as entertainment, as opposed to me sitting at my home and watching them on the TV as entertainment, that was really cool to experience, really exciting. I was able to bring my god brother with me as well, who was operating as my manager. So that was really great to be able to experience that with him, and to be able to meet people that I've admired for so long. What are the odds of making music a career option? I would say that there are definitely several different factors that play into that, having music to be your career option. Of course, number one, are you passionate about it? I think that's a question that we can all ask ourselves, regardless of what it is that we do. Passion is what's going to drive you. Also, how well do you do whatever it is that you do, whether you play or you sing? That level of talent or that level of expertise, of course, factors into success of your business as a musician. And going into business, how well do you do business? Or do you have access to someone who can do business on your behalf to kind of fill in that weakness or that gap? How much tenacity do you have? How much drive do you have? And what do you do or take advantage of to compensate those certain weaknesses as well? So many different factors that play into it, but I do believe that, and once we consider all of those factors first and foremost, and then once we control all these different factors, then we're on our way to being a successful musician. What other instruments do you play? So I only play the violin mainly. However, I'm also a vocalist. And I think a lot of times I find myself using the violin as an extension of my voice. So if I'm trying to decide how to approach this music or part of a song, a lot of times I would sing it, and then I would, because I play by ear, I can replicate what I just sang and translate it over to the violin. Tell us something about the projects you're currently working on. I'm currently working on a project that is very near and dear to my heart called An Evening of Elegance. It'll be August 21st, 2020, which is a Friday, here in Gulfport, Mississippi, at a venue called The Dock. It'll be a time for my supporters who are local and non-local to come together in Gulfport, Mississippi, and experience amazing music, four-course dinner. There will be giveaways, there will be door prizes, there will be pictures, there will be just having everybody together. We'll be honoring different people in the community as well. But for those who only typically experience me virtually on live streams and social media, they get to come and I can experience them in person, meet them, enjoy the company of all of our supporters, and we really feel as though we're family. So it's going to be an amazing time and an amazing experience to share with all of them. Again, An Evening of Elegance, August 21st, 2020. How do you face your critics? That's a good one. First and foremost, you have constructive criticism, you have destructive criticism. And I think it's important to decide on the front end, is this constructive or is it destructive? If it's constructive criticism, then I adhere to it with an open mind. Because I know a lot of times constructive criticism can take you outside of your comfort zone, but that's imperative to the success of a musician or any career field that you're in. If it's destructive, however, I dismiss it in a polite way, of course, or just dismiss it mentally. Let them know that you're listening, that I hear you. And at that point, it's up to me to decide if I want to implement it or not. How has life been on the other side of music? I think that's a great question, because as a musician or entrepreneur, the struggle that we have daily is maintaining a healthy balance between your personal life and your business. And when it comes down to it, we have to balance our diet. We have to, how has life been on the other side of music? That's a good question, because as musicians or entrepreneurs, we have to learn how to balance personal life, business. And a lot of times it's a struggle, it's a daily struggle to maintain that balance, because you have to worry about getting the correct amount of rest. You have to worry about your diet. You have to worry about, family, relationships, your friendships. You have to worry about your finances. You have to worry about keeping your home clean. So many different things that you have to worry about personally. And the same is with business. So to be able to balance those two, I think is very, very necessary. I wouldn't say that I've always been able to do that as well as I do it now, but just like anything else, it's been a journey and I have grown. Where do you see yourself in the next 10 years? In the next 10 years, I see myself in a position that is far more multifaceted, and to where I represent far more than just music. So it looks like creating a nonprofit that has several different entities within it. Of course, a nonprofit that serves a larger purpose, to where I can be then seen as a philanthropist, not just a musician. I can be a speaker, not just a musician. I can be an activist, not just a musician. And it'll open up the door to so many different things. And I think those all can be used as different platforms to further deliver the same message of hope to people. What are some tips or advice that you would give to youngsters? I would say this: if you're young and you're watching this, first and foremost, you want to be true to yourself. Never allow other people to pressure you to be or to become or to do anything outside of what you feel as, what are some tips or advice that you would give to youngsters? I would say this: if you're young and you're watching this, never allow anybody to put pressure on you to be something, to do something that you're not. First and foremost, you want to stay true to yourself. Also, I want you to be very open-minded. Don't be closed-minded, be open-minded to see the opportunities that are out there. I know a lot of times since we were young, we're asked, what do we want to be when we grow up? What do we want to do when we grow up? And we find ourselves saying, I want to be this, I want to do that. And we say that year after year after year after year, not realizing that it might not be who we are anymore. Or even at that point, maybe we were so underdeveloped, too underdeveloped sometimes, to even decide our future. So we put our future in the hands of a younger version of ourselves. So you have to ask yourself where I am currently. What am I passionate about? What do I love? What represents me? And move forward with that. Take all of the limits off. Take all of the limits off. And I'll say it one more time. Take all of the limits off, because the only limits that really hold us back are in our minds. And never hinder yourself and say what you can't do. The world is yours and the opportunities are limitless. How's life in quarantine? Life in quarantine has been something. I tell you, I've had to adapt in so many different ways and embrace this new normal. But going into this quarantine, I really encourage myself as well as my supporters to approach this quarantine with positivity. Control what you can and don't worry about the things that you can't control. But to approach this quarantine or this pandemic with the mindset of, I'm going to go into this focusing on, now that I have more time, I'm going to focus on the areas of my life or my business or my family that need addressing. And really just use this time to grow in areas and develop myself in areas where I won't have the time to do so otherwise, so that when I come outside of this pandemic, when the masks come off, if that happens ever, or when this quarantine is over, I want to come outside of this better. I want to come outside of this closer to friends and family. I want to come outside of this where my priorities are placed exactly where they ought to be placed. Because I know a lot of times we can get so caught up in, careers and promotions and going here and doing that and self and so many different things that our priorities find themselves getting out of whack. And I think this is an amazing and perfect time for us to grow and get priorities where they deserve to be and to mend those relationships that need mending. Well, ladies and gentlemen, that's me in a nutshell. I'm Bruce the Violinist, and thank you once again, GOGO Magazine, for featuring me as an artist. Guys, make sure you go and like, share, and subscribe to this channel. They're doing such an amazing job. And before we go, I want to encourage you guys to do whatever it is that you can to prevent the further spread of coronavirus, as well as the further spread of the social injustice that is negatively impacting our world. Again, thank you guys so much. Remember that you're blessed. Remember that you're favored. And remember that you're loved by God. Grace and peace.